The quiet town of Astridge had always been a peaceful place, nestled between rolling hills and vast forests. Life here was predictable, until the day an alien delegation arrived. They weren't invaders. No warships loomed in the sky. Instead, they came with a proposal, a union between their kind and humanity. A way to forge a lasting bond between species. Most people were hesitant. The aliens, known as the HFY, were enigmatic. Humanoid, but with differences that set them apart. Luminous silver eyes, intricate markings along their skin, and an aura that seemed to shimmer in the right light. Their presence was both mesmerizing and unnerving. Riven Locke, a man who had spent most of his life on the outskirts of society, found himself drawn into this strange arrangement. He had no family, no deep roots tying him down. When the government offered substantial compensation to those who volunteered for the HFY Union program, he agreed. "I'll do it," Riven said, signing the contract with a steady hand. Days later, he stood before an altar, awaiting his mysterious bride. The HFY ceremonies were unlike anything he had seen. Instead of a traditional wedding dress, his bride wore flowing silken robes that shifted colors like liquid moonlight. Her face remained hidden behind an ornate veil, and when she finally spoke, her voice sent a shiver through him. "I am Saria," she whispered, her accent smooth yet unearthly. "From this moment, we are one." Their hands touched, and for a moment, he felt something unlike anything before, a warmth that curled around his soul, a sensation that left him breathless. The ceremony was swift, and before he fully processed what had happened, they were escorted to the secluded house assigned to them. A home for a newlywed human and his alien wife. It was only when they were alone that Riven truly felt the weight of what he had done. And he had yet to even see her face. Riven poured 2 glasses of water, his fingers slightly unsteady. He had faced storms, solitude, and hardship, but this was something new. A life with an alien woman he barely knew. Saria moved with an elegance that fascinated him. Every motion deliberate, as though she existed in perfect harmony with the world. She stood near the window, gazing at the night sky. "You do not regret?" she asked softly. "I don't believe in regrets," Riven replied. "Only choices." She turned to face him, the veil still concealing her features. "Would you like to see me?" His heart pounded. "Yes." Slowly, Saria lifted the veil, revealing the truth beneath. Riven's breath caught in his throat. Her beauty was ethereal, yet utterly alien. Her silver eyes had no pupils, yet they burned with emotion. The markings on her skin shimmered, shifting with her pulse. Strands of hair, impossibly soft, seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. But it was the feeling she radiated, something deep and inexplicable, that stunned him. A presence that reached beyond mere attraction. "You are breathtaking," he admitted. Saria's expression softened, something unreadable passing through her gaze. "You do not fear me?" He stepped closer, brushing his fingers along her cheek. "Should I?" For a moment, she seemed to struggle with something unspoken. Then, without warning, she leaned in. The first touch of her lips was like stepping into a dream, warm, electric, filled with something beyond words. In that instant, Riven knew. Whatever this was, whatever mysteries lay between them, he was already falling. The days that followed were unlike anything Riven had expected. Saria was not just his wife in name, she was bound to him in ways beyond human comprehension. The HFY did not simply form partnerships, they bonded on a level that wove their very beings together. He could feel her presence even when she wasn't near. A soft warmth, a pulse in the air, a whisper at the edges of his mind. "I feel you," he admitted one evening as they sat beneath the stars. "Even when you're not beside me." She smiled, tilting her head slightly. "It is our bond. Does it frighten you?" "No," she said, watching him closely. "Does it frighten you?" Riven exhaled, looking up at the endless sky. "No. It just makes me wonder what it means." Saria reached out, taking his hand in hers. It means you are no longer alone. The words hit deeper than he expected. He had always been alone, moving through life without attachments, without true connection. But now, he felt something real, something unshakable. That night, as he held her, the connection between them grew stronger. Their breaths intertwined, hearts beating in sync. And as their bodies pressed close, Riven realized, this was more than just a union between species. It was something far greater. Something neither of them had been prepared for. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Saria sat by the fire, her gaze distant. "There is something I must tell you," she said softly. Riven frowned, setting his drink down. "What is it?" She hesitated before meeting his gaze. "The Eltheri, we do not form bonds lightly. To us, marriage is not just companionship, it is a fusion of souls." He processed her words carefully. "What does that mean for us?" "It means my life is now tied to yours." Riven felt a chill, not of fear, but of awe. He had always assumed this was a political arrangement, a gesture between species. But for Saria, it was more. "What happens if something happens to me?" he asked. She closed her eyes. "Then I will follow." The weight of her words settled deep in his chest. He reached for her, pulling her into his arms. "You shouldn't have to sacrifice yourself for me." "It is not sacrifice," she whispered. "It is devotion." His grip tightened. "Then I swear to you, I'll never let anything happen to us." Saria tilted her head up, her silver eyes locking onto his. "You are different from what I expected, Riven Locke. And you are more than I could have ever dreamed, Saria." Their lips met again, sealing something unbreakable. Not just a marriage, a love that transcended worlds. And as the storm raged on, Riven knew, his life had changed forever.